Right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So everybody can pretty much hear me nice and clear. Happy Saturday to everybody. And we will jump into this right away. Let me go ahead and screen. Pretty much we're just gonna do a weekly recap of everything that pretty much took place for yesterday. A couple of things that I do want to discuss. Get this. All right, perfect. So pretty much we had a strong close on the NASDAQ yesterday. You are going to hear me discuss MU on the watch list this week. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview into the watch list for tomorrow. I want you to watch MU. You do have NVIDIA, which reports earnings next week. MU is going to be one of our breakout plays next week. We're breaking over this 430. MU is likely to take this next move up the way to I would say back in the 440 range. I'm going to be taking a look at that in this next week. You can put that down on your watch list early already. So just was looking at that. I wanted to cover that for us. Look at MU for next week. We will talk more about it. I want to talk about the selling pressure on a couple of names that I do see, IREN and as well OKLO. We're about to start heating up on the downside action on both of these. OKLO had a rough day on Friday, came down all the way to about $63, fell a couple of dollars, but 61.61 is essentially the level for OKLO. I want you to watch that on the short side. You can see a weekly bear flag, which has essentially developed. You can see that building here. We've been trading sideways on OKLO for the past 12 weeks. So you can see we briefly broke by that bear flag here on the 9th and the 10th, but you can see prices trying to consolidate down and press down underneath $61 a share. So we are looking for OKLO as well as IREN, which I've told people about these two stocks, particularly on the short side of these next couple of months. But definitely watch this week, particularly on IREN. We're at about $40 a share. So underneath 37. Should be looking down to about 33. So I do expect some selling to take place there. We do have this name moving to the downside. Also, yeah, Oracle on Friday. I told you guys that bull flag would not break. And we did not. So now price is heading down. We're literally at 147. We're expecting more downside below 147. Move down to about 137. So you got OKLO, IREN, and Oracle to take a look at over these next couple of weeks. So be monitoring and watching Oracle to the downside at this time. Expecting some downward movement on Oracle as well. So pay attention to that there. Next, you have your calendar. So this week upcoming will be NVIDIA's time on the clock. You look at NVDA, we haven't seen anything movement-wise realistically in the past 6 months. We've been really within the same spot, 1 point down, 1 point back up. So NVIDIA's earnings, if we can get above 195 and push over 200, you'll see NVIDIA probably start to trickle back up to go in and test an all-time high, but more than likely to probably move a bit sideways here on NVDA. So last week, we traded pretty much side by side, but not really much took place there. A lot of questions about Palantir, and I did see Tiffany come into the chat, kind of illustrating some things for people. So it did really everything that we thought it would do, go back to 139, reject, but you're still waiting on this break underneath 125 on Palantir. So right now, currently still short on it. We'll see what we get next week. but we got to see a break below 125 on ticker PLTR. So $125. Our trade on Palantir. This is what we're looking for. All right, so just doing a recap pretty much of last week first. You also have Adobe right now, same setup we were speaking about actually yesterday in DC, but we talked about it. Adobe underneath 250 bucks. That's going to be the next move to the downside on Adobe. So underneath 250. So last week was, in a nutshell, was pretty much just a consolidation. We didn't really get much movement on any real tickers, to be honest. Last week was really a sideways week. They didn't have much of a move. A couple tickers came up, but not really much. Few tickers moved down, but you didn't really have, last week was not a trending type volume week, which we kind of anticipated after 3 previous weeks of consistent action. So this week was a bit of a pause on the volume side. So just my initial thoughts on as we pretty much close out this week, but we look ahead to next week, some of the things that we have on the docket. Next week is going to be the PPI numbers that come out for January on Friday. So if you notice, the calendar's kind of been a little bit skewed with data coming out at different times than what it usually does. Usually you would see this report come out the second week of February, but it's coming out towards pretty much the last, second to last day here of February. On Friday, February 27th, also just as I am speaking about Friday, just a reminder. So if you are out there in the Bay Area on the West Coast, get your tickets for the seminar. I will be out there on the 27th and the 28th. So that's Friday and Saturday, doing a 2-day class out there for you guys, 2-day workshop. So shout out to our community member, Sammy, for putting this thing together. So definitely make sure you guys show up and show out for that. So if you haven't already, go ahead and get your tickets directly here for that event. So we will be out there serving you guys on the West Coast. Yep, for Palantir and Adobe, those are my thoughts on that. But yeah, just a pretty much solid, straight chop price action pretty much all week on all of these tickers. So it wasn't really much that took place. Wasn't really a lot to really do, honestly. So it was just sideways on Bitcoin. ETH was sideways. Still, you're waiting on ETHU to pull down. ETHU is currently at about $21. You're still waiting on ETHU at about 10 to 15 bucks. So if you can get it there, perfect. So those are my thoughts on that. We had conversations about covered calls and cash secured puts yesterday. We did have a conversation about those, particularly on Netflix and Robinhood, being two stocks that have obviously entered areas where, from a long-term investor, are starting to become attractive. So Hood still looking for a pullback to about 50 from a long-term investment perspective. And then as well, you do have particularly here Netflix, which you're looking for that pullback to $55. So right now, Netflix made a lower high last week, as most stocks did. Most stocks made some form of a lower high off of their lower lows that they made the week before. So that is pretty much our recap. The SPY was up to back up to 690 yesterday, and the QQQ was at 608. So, we're still in the same spot there on the indices. So not much has really changed at all. I want to take a time to touch on a couple companies here today. Fundamentally, I want you guys to follow along with me. I want to talk about Marvell Technology real quick. Ticker Marvell, which has earnings coming up on March 5th. So that'll be right around the corner. Marvell Tech. So right now, Marvell Tech is sitting right here on this trend line. So I drew this diagonal trend line here from the bottom all the way to stretched it at about a 45-degree angle. So you can see that here. We bounced here September 2025. And now we're back at this trend line again. So I want to go to Marvell Tech. Right now it has a 27 P to E with it's earning $2.84 EPS. If you look at its share statistics, you have about 800 million shares outstanding here on this specific business. So looking here, one of the things that I would stress, particularly on this name, you do have like I said, a trailing P of 27. Price to sales ratio did decrease from about 16.93 all the way to 10.37, right? Comparable to FY of 2025, reflecting more attractive pricing relative to its revenue. So last year was a decent year for Marvell from a company perspective, valuation wise. So the stock price may have not reflected it last year. Of course, we did bounce in April and March, came back. Obviously, pulled back the start of the year, this rally. But in these areas, I think it's a good idea to start. If Marvell's your company that you want to get exposure to, I think these are good areas to start to look to do so. And so in between here, 60, $70, I think it's worth it. Now, if we do break off, we do break on the downside on Marvell and come underneath, we could fall all the way to about $67. And then after that, about 61. But I think selling some cash secure puts on Marvell in between $60 to $70 would be a good idea if this is your company you want to go after. So just my thoughts on where the business is at right now. So just wanted to make that note for everyone who's listening to me here. So 60 to $70 would be ideal where you want to actually go ahead and get a sign that makes good sense from a long-term investor perspective. All right. My thoughts. So that is ticker Marvell. They will be reporting March 5th. You want to do CoreWeave, excuse me. So CoreWeave right now, earnings are going to be this upcoming Thursday on the 26th. So earnings estimate is about a miss of about 50 cents. So CoreWeave actually debuted last year. I want to touch on this. So pretty much this is approaching their 1-year anniversary of being publicly traded. So it's been a pretty wild ride. First, 3 to 6 months started off good and, started to take a turn here in June. Really only had about 3 to 4 months, excuse me. And we were at the mastermind this week, right, where we called the top. We had the Mentee link up June 23rd to the 26th. So we had the Mentee link up. It was a really good time. 21st, excuse me, to the 25th. It was a really good time to be of service. And what you were able to see was we talked about CoreWeave actually coming back down because we knew that it was such an overhyped IPO. We know how these new IPOs come out when they first get started. So the main question on CoreWeave will be now, being a year in, you have now a year in, going into your second year being publicly traded. What's the path to profitability really here for CoreWeave, right? So CoreWeave, a lot of blanks here, a lot of fill in the blanks. Price to sales right now is currently at 11. So you can see that here. Price to sales is about 11. So it has obviously dropped from when the stock was company was worth about 80 billion. I personally think the sweet spot for this business where I would want to pay, currently trading at about a 50 billion in market cap, is right around about 25 to 30 billion is where I think makes sense from a long-term investor perspective. Anything over that, I think you would be probably overpaying. Now, this is a stock that has about 9% of its shares outstanding currently being held short. So you can see that expressed here. So definitely wanted to make sure that I was able to expand upon that. So CoreWeave, essentially the target as far as purchasing this business let's say a sub $50. So sub $50 is where you want to get exposed. And so anything right now would be an overpay specifically for this business at this time. So CoreWeave, ticker CRWV, will report on the 26th. Company right now expected to lose about 50 cent EPS for the quarter. So we'll see what they're able to go ahead and materialize and make out of it. Palo Alto Network, PANW. You guys can put on your notes $100 PANW. That's where you want to get exposed. Now, we did have the opportunity to already hear from Palo Alto Network. So they did go into spend mode last year. So spend mode short term to make the company better in the long run. So that honestly usually leads to short term downside because the earnings start to drop, which I anticipate that we are going to see a little bit of struggle of earnings movement to the upside here on Palo Alto, like Palo Alto Network to move downward to about $100. This is the spot where I believe you're actually going to get it. We closed underneath 155 bucks. So Palo Alto Network is next to head to about 141. They'll be looking for that over these next couple of weeks. But $100 from a long-term investor perspective is where I would think would be worth starting to build a position on this name. Anything over that based upon what the business is currently earning would be an overpay. So come down here within these ranges. That's where you would want to look to be a long-term investor on this particular company. Definitely is pretty based on what the business, like I said, is earning now. You would be paying an expensive price to actually carry and hold this business at this time. So those are my thoughts on this name. I'll provide some updates on UNH. UNH is currently at about $290 a share. Next resistance level is so 295 and then 306. And so after that, you would take a move back to about 321. Underneath 270 would be where you would see a drawdown to about 250. So another stock that's still trading right now, currently within a range. You had a V-shape recovery back to this 290 range. Just kind of consolidated now. As you can see, a lot of outflows here from 350, move down very quickly when they missed, when they had their, not earnings missed, but some of the regulatory things that ended up taking place here on this specific name. So tough, it was a tough quarter for this name, got beat up, but it's trying to bounce back. Keep your eyes peeled on it. Next stock I want to talk about is going to be, got one more before there. The crowd's giving another entry, a break below 377. So remember, the accumulation zone for crowd is between, on CrowdStrike, is going to be in between 325 to 375. So that's the accumulation zone that I want you guys to look to pick up CrowdStrike. So we're we're likely to hit those levels. I still see, I mentioned Oracle in the beginning. Still see Oracle coming down. I didn't talk about Microsoft today, but you're still looking at MSFT as well. Retracing downward. I had a good question in BC yesterday, asked about Microsoft. So you're still looking for Microsoft to come down in between about 350. Of course, we got to take out this 390 and 385 first, but I'm still looking for MSFT to come down lower to the lower 300 range. Microsoft, so I still think there's still some more rotation that's going to happen out of here. And if Microsoft gets down in the lower 300s, you're almost looking at about a 40% pullback from a high. So it begs the question, is that an area where you want to get exposed to at MSFT? And that's the answer. The answer to that question is yes. So down there at about 330, 350 is where I personally think Microsoft is still going to go and pull back to. We need to see this break underneath 390, and that will cause more selling to come in, as well as Oracle, as we have discussed, $100 to $120. So everything is kind of really going to plan right now, even with ticker ZS, which was down $9 on Friday. We're coming back down to now at this 160 level. So ZS is probably likely to fall more to about 146 and 140. So I'm still looking at ticker ZS to pull downward more. You got Microsoft. Once again, your cybersecurity stocks, your cloud computing names. These names are being rotated out of consistently right now. So the momentum is shifted out of these names, and you're seeing a lot of selling come in, and I expect it to continue. So the lower highs that are being made, once again, are only happening for the stock price to go lower. So you got lower lows, lower highs. These, once again, only happening here in the short term. So you are going to be able to see, particularly Microsoft as well, get below this 390. Once that obviously can go ahead and happen, you will see more of downside action in that space. So cybersecurity, cloud computing, all of those high growth names. As in addition, you got OKLO, you got IREM, a lot of your AI buzzwords, quantum stocks. Those names are consistently being rotated out of right now. So make notes on those. Next one I want to talk about is Tesla, which currently right now is trading still within the same ranges as well. As you can see here in September, same exact range. So unless you're getting a break below 383, you're not going to really see a lot of selling come in unless you get below 383. So it is sideways action right now up here on Tesla. Same thing, just consolidating, being range bound. So you don't have a clear direction on Tesla either. So that's my thoughts on TSLA. Ping pong table back and forth, but no clear direction there. I want to talk about CRM because we have discussed CRM. We did get a close underneath $187 here on CRM. So one thing that I will point out, I do want to go back to the past here and look here at Salesforce. You'll notice here on Salesforce, there is going to be some area around 167 where Salesforce will probably be able to get held up at. So you do want to monitor and watch that specific area. So 167 on Salesforce. And then we're still looking on Salesforce to come down all the way to about $125, which would make perfect sense from a valuation perspective, long-term investing wise. You got a company that fell from all the way up there in the higher 300s, pulling down to 128. And as you can see here, you see nothing but green and one red. So Salesforce has been able to consistently beat earnings. Looks like only one miss in the past. Yeah, one miss in the past 5 years. Looks like one miss in the past 5 years. So companies consistently hitting. You're seeing, like I said, a rotation out of these names. So 120, 130, going back down there to that low from 2022. Think about that. That's erasing 4 years worth of gains on Salesforce down, getting all the way down there. So that is pretty, pretty amazing for that to happen and give you an opportunity to be able to get a business that's earning way more now compared to what they were earning back here in 2022. So definitely a discount you can get all the way down there. And here at $185 is starting to really become attractive. So just my thoughts on it. Got another C ticker, and that is Carvana. So let's discuss Carvana. after their earnings. I won't say debacle this week, but let's just discuss ticker CVNA. So, real quick. Let's discuss ticker CVNA after this week's earnings and see exactly where they are at from a valuation perspective. So Carvana reported this week. It's really back, honestly, right back to the same spot to where it reported at. So revenue did grow about 58% year over year. It's pretty solid there. Two things that I wanted to make note of. Where we at? So retail sales units recorded volume driven by improved customer experience, brand awareness, and inventory sales. So retail units sold, they sold about 155,000, which was a 44% year over year increase. Revenue, which we just highlighted, was up 55% year over year. But it actually had a pretty good quarter. It wasn't as bad. The short seller allegations, once again, are continuing to make the stock more volatile. So it wasn't bad. They didn't have a bad report. Just the amount of people still shorting the name causes a little bit of concern for some investors. But Carvana currently right now is at a 76 PDE with a $4.41 EPS. So currently, if you are looking at CVNA, to me, I would still consider it to be an overpay. But like I said before, in the 200s, like I said in the beginning of the week, in the 200 range would make a ton of sense to get exposed to the business. Ideally, I thought 280, in between 240 and 280 would make a ton of sense. You did get 280, but that was after hours. And as you see, those people bought it up very quickly. So in between the 200 range, currently what the business is earning and its forward projections would be arguably probably the better spot to buy the business at. You'd be purchasing it today, you would be overpaying. So ideally between 240 to 280 from a long-term investment would make sense based upon what the business has been able to produce. But yeah, anything over 300 would be an overpay. So just my thoughts on Carvana's run. Been an incredible U-turn, right? Literally a U-turn, turned this thing around compared to where they were at in 2021 and 2022 when they fell off. They've completely done a 360, not just price-wise, but also business-wise. So they've been able to validate in some regard this movement on the upside. So Carvana, once again, in the 200s would make a ton of sense from a long-term investor perspective. But right now, you would be overpaying for this name. So this would not be a name that you want to buy here. All right. So you notice I kind of saying the same thing on pretty much majority of the companies. Either they're too high priced or some are coming back into areas where they're just about there, right? You have about like 5 to 10 companies that we've covered that are just about there, right? One more nasty pullback, and Oracle, CrowdStrike, Robinhood, Netflix, Coinbase, right? CRM, all of these names will be coming down to levels that we want. So particularly, you got to make sure you're setting your alerts as much as you can and, keeping track of these things. So that's the best way to do it. Still, the standout names continue to hold up the market. Your names like NVIDIA, Apple have been able to hold things up. So you haven't seen any nasty selling off on the NASDAQ. And that's why the S&P 500 is still at a high. The Dow Jones Industrial Average continues to do well. Shout out to Caterpillar and Company. CAT is literally at $760. In the past 6 months, Caterpillar is up 80%. All right. So, it doesn't go unnoticed that we've highlighted Caterpillar numerous of times and talked about how much of an undervalued business it was. And as you can see here from April up until now, last April up until now, you see the move that Caterpillar has made, and Caterpillar is going to be $1,000 company like we illustrated it to be. So looking here at Cat, it's made a move up here 80%. So while the rest of the market's trading, while a lot of the rest of the market is trading sideways or declining, you have your names that have the solid business fundamentals outperforming. So Caterpillar is going to try to compete with Goldman Sachs to take that number one Dow spot. Do I think Cat would do it? I don't think so right now. You're still a good distance away, but they're going to put their hat in the running. So Caterpillar, incredible run here, $760. So shout out to Cat for an amazing, amazing run. Business wise, they've done everything the right way. And yeah, Caterpillar is showing you why they in the Dow Jones Industrial Average for a reason. So Caterpillar is moving like a growth company, 80% in 6 months. So they're able to validate it because they have those earnings. So for my Caterpillar people, it's been an incredible run. You got Cat here. It's the beginning of the year. It's up about $160. So good start. First 2 months of the year for Cat. I want to talk about SNDK. I was just talking about MU. So I want to touch on SNDK as well too. Personally think SNDK is about to go on another breakout here in the next 1 to 2 weeks. I see them probably gap into about 700, as well as MU going back like 440, 450 plus. So MU and SanDisk, keep your eyes on those. Those are coiled, ready to probably blow, pop off. So got some bull flags in some of these time frames building, and you're gonna be looking at SanDisk moving upward. So keep your eyes peeled on SanDisk and as well MU, the memory trade, right? AI memory trade. So these two names have been a part of leading that revolution here. So watch MU break out above this 430. They'll probably shoot to, like I said, about 440, 450 plus. And SanDisk will probably shoot to over 700. So once again, NVIDIA does report earnings as well this week. So it'll be on the 25th this week. So this upcoming Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're going to hear from ticker NVDA. Those are some of the fundamental things go over. Talk about GE Aerospace, GE. Making consistent higher highs and higher lows. So just here on a weekly time frame, just made a new all-time high. Higher high. GE was up about $8 on Friday. They got an $8 EPS. So GE currently with a 42 PDE. Just did make a new all-time high. So give a shout out to them. Solid movement in their regard. Let's talk SoFi. So still SoFi is $10 to $15, y'all. That's where we're looking for SoFi to come down to. So you're still seeing a rotation once again out of those high growth names. So SoFi easily back. I think we can easily see the downside 10 to 15. So be looking on SoFi this upcoming week, taking a move down to about $18, and then $18.09, and then $17.20 after that. You got SoFi Technologies with a rotation. That pretty much clears plain as day here. Ready for this move down underneath 18. You'll be watching that. Let's talk MicroStrategy. Micro. So the next move down won't come unless we get below 120. All right. So unless you're getting below 120 in a short term, it's obviously definitely heavily correlated with Bitcoin's price movement. So if BTC gets above 70K, you'll probably see MicroStrategy try to break as well. You are right here on the cusp of breaking out of this fallen channel from the 9th of this month. So you can see that here. If we do break, you could see MicroStrategy pop a little bit, but underneath 121, that's going to be your previous week's low here from the 12th. So you'd like to see it break down. And that's going to be the only way you see a pullback on MicroStrategy getting below 121, 122. That's my thoughts there. Growth strategy. Tickers, as far as we cover tickers as far as earnings for a few tickers this week on earnings wise. So once again, we're in the back half of earnings. So when NVIDIA goes ahead and reports that pretty much eliminate all of the major mega caps outside of Oracle, Oracle would be reporting in March. So we are going to hear from Oracle as well. So we'll listen to them. Oracle to be on a Monday upcoming, a Monday following the second Monday in March. We'll have an opportunity to hear from Oracle after hours. But that is pretty much it on its fundamental side. A few setups, but not really a ton. So it's important to just really stay disciplined in that regard. Don't force things that's not there. We're trading within the ranges, so there'll probably definitely be less positions recommended at this time. You look at the market conditions. The market conditions not really favoring being too aggressive on trades here right now with the sideways movement from the indices. Once again, you don't have that clear price action. So it's tough, to trade sometimes these ranges. So it's important to keep that in mind. But you do understand the opportunities from some of these price corrections that have taken place. I want to continue to stress the names that we talked about dropping 20, 30, 40% that now have and are opening up the opportunities to buy, invest. I do want to encourage that. Some good opportunities here that I think will pay off in the long run. But don't force it all in at one time. No need to jump the gun and stress yourself out. So let some of these things play out. Like I continue to remain bearish on Palantir. This is how the market moves. The market doesn't move in a straight line and then just keep dropping. It's going to consolidate before taking a move lower. So 125 is your level on Palantir. Once you get below that 125, you are going to see a move downward even further to about $116. So that's my thoughts on PLTR and just, other names. Even like I said with Oracle, Oracle's going back to 160. What that's how the market moves. Once again, you don't go to 140 and then drop straight to 100. No, you're probably going to go from 140 back to 160 first, then you're going to break 140, and then you're going to draw down to those next levels below there. That's how the market works when it's making lower lows and lower highs. Vice versa, when the market is going up, you may see a stock go to 200, and then it pulls back and goes to 195, then breaks over 200 again. So understanding what trend the price is currently in of your equity, it's making higher highs and higher lows, or lower lows and lower highs should be the first thing that you ask yourself when you approach those time frames. So just my thoughts. Led this one of these. Definitely watch Marvell Tech, which reports earnings here on the 5th. Currently sitting right here on the trend line. So trend line is a good place where stocks do like to potentially either reverse, or if they break, could have an opportunity to see a pull down about $10. Could be also a good reversal area here for Marvell Tech. So just my thoughts on it at this time. We will be live tomorrow for the weekly watch list, so make sure you are tapped in. Just another couple announcements. One of our good members here, Miss Felicia Davis Frazier. Shout out to Miss Frazier. Been able to connect. She's been in our community for 5+ years. So I've had the pleasure to go to Montgomery, Alabama before and speak with her community, her church community down there. Shout out to also as well, Pastor Dr. White, really great brother. The opportunity to meet him last time. He also teaches Alabama State. So he's a professor and a really great pastor doing things with his ministry down there. So it's a blessing to be able to come and be of service to Montgomery City of Refuge. So if you know you are in Alabama, or if you're in neighboring states close to Alabama, you are welcome to join us at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That will be on Saturday, March 14th. So the address is here. You know, anybody that this can help, your family in Alabama or you're in Tennessee or wherever you may be coming from, you're in Kentucky. I know we have a couple people in Kentucky. So if you do want to connect and come to class, it would be dope. Opportunity to be able to meet in person, build, and fellowship. So we do want to thank you, Ms. Fraser, for putting that together for us. That is March 14th. And then Bay Area, what's happening? So um, February 27th to the 28th, 2-day in-person workshop. That'll be Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So essentially, we will be there. That's 8 hours of value, right? February 27th and 28th, 8 hours of value. So we'll be in the Bay Area with you guys. So excited to come out there. First time ever in the Bay Area. So you can get your tickets, share this with all my people that are. If you're in San Francisco, Oakland, or the neighboring cities around, definitely would love to connect and build. So that is where we have it. So we do have a couple other things in the pipeline. April, DC will be ran back again for a 2-day event. So 2-day event in April. The third week of April is the target, but we'll finalize that date. So we'll be ran back again, DC. So appreciate you guys. And those are just pretty much my notes for today. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for the weekly watch list. And yeah, we'll continue to build. Thank you guys for your time. You have a blessed one.